May 12, 2017. A single click, a single file. And suddenly 200,000 computers across 150 countries are encrypted, locked out. Hospitals in the NHS, global corporations, government systems were locked out, data held hostage. The world froze. Credit files, patient records, shipping manifests, all held ransom for $300 in Bitcoin. This was WannaCry, the global ransomware pandemic that exposed how a stolen NSA exploit, a kill switch, and one teenage researcher might be the only things that saved us. Hey there, tech enthusiasts, history buffs, and cybersecurity warriors. Welcome back to the channel, where we dive deep into the wildest stories in tech history. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss a single thrilling tale. Today, we are unraveling one of the most infamous cyber attacks ever. The WannaCry ransomware attack of 2017. This wasn't just a hack. It was a global digital earthquake that locked hospitals, crippled businesses, and sent governments scrambling. WannaCry showed the world just how vulnerable our connected systems are. In this video, we're going to break down how WannaCry spread, who is behind it, and why it still matters today. Buckle up, because this story is a roller coaster of chaos, heroism, and lessons we can't afford to forget. Let's dive in. Section 1. The setup. What was WannaCry? Picture this. It's May 2017, and the world is humming along, blissfully unaware that a digital storm is brewing. Suddenly, computers across 150 countries start locking up, displaying a chilling message. Pay up, or lose your files forever. This was WannaCry, a ransomware attack that didn't just target a few unlucky users. It went global, fast. But what exactly is ransomware? Think of it like a digital kidnapper. It sneaks into your computer, encrypts your files so you can't access them, and demands a ransom. Usually in cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, to give you back the keys. WannaCry wasn't just any ransomware. It was a weaponized virus that exploited a flaw in Microsoft Windows, turning everyday computers into hostages. WannaCry spread using a worm called WannaCrypt, also known as WannaCrypt 2.0, WannaCrypt 0, R2.0, or WannaCrypt OR, among variants. It exploited a Windows SMB vulnerability, later dubbed Eternal Blue, originally developed by the NSA and publicly leaked by the hacker group. The shadow brokers in April 2017. Microsoft had released patches for all supported Windows versions in March 2017. But many organizations hadn't installed them. Windows XP and Windows Server 2003 systems unsupported. Since 2014-2015 were especially vulnerable. Most infected systems were running Windows 7, not XP. Despite assumptions, why was WannaCry so terrifying? WannaCry was a self-propagating worm, not just a ransomware. Once inside a network, it spread laterally to other computers without user intervention, encrypting files with WNCRY or similar extensions, then displaying a multi-language ransom note demanding $300 USD in Bitcoin within 3 days, or $600 after 7 days. Estimated infections exceeded 200,000 to 300,000 computers across 150 countries, causing $4 billion or more in damages from operational disruption, remediation, and lost productivity. It didn't discriminate. Hospitals, factories, universities, even entire government systems were hit. In the UK, the National Health Service ground to a halt as doctors couldn't access patient records. In Spain, telecom giant Telefonica was paralyzed. FedEx, Renault, and even Russia's Ministry of Internal Affairs felt the sting.
Over 200,000 systems were infected in just days, with damages estimated at up to $4 billion. That's billion with a B.
This wasn't just a tech problem. It was a wake-up call for the world. So, how did this digital disaster start, and what made it spread like wildfire? Let's break it down. Section 2. The vulnerability, Eternal Blue. To understand WannaCry, we need to talk about a shadowy exploit called Eternal Blue. Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, right? Well, it's real, and it's scary. Eternal Blue was a hacking tool developed by the U.S. National Security Agency, or NSA, to exploit a weakness in Microsoft Windows Server Message Block Protocol. In simple terms, it was like finding a hidden backdoor into millions of computers worldwide. The NSA knew about this vulnerability, but kept it secret for their own surveillance purposes. That is, until a mysterious group called the Shadow Brokers stole it and leaked it to the world in April 2017. Once Eternal Blue was out in the wild, it was like handing a master key to cybercriminals. WannaCry's creators, widely believed to be the Lazarus Group, a hacking crew linked to North Korea, weaponized this exploit. They paired it with a worm, a type of malware that spreads itself automatically across networks. Imagine a virus that doesn't need you to click a sketchy link. It just slithers from computer to computer, locking up everything in its path. That's what made WannaCry so devastating. It didn't just infect one machine. It could take down entire networks in minutes. But how did it actually get into so many systems? Let's zoom in on the attack itself. Section 3. The attack, Chaos Unleashed. It all kicked off on May 12, 2017. Picture a typical Friday morning, people sipping coffee, checking emails, and starting their workday. Then, bam! Computers start freezing, and a red screen pops up with a countdown timer and a demand for $300 to $600 in third, and Bitcoin to unlock the files. This was WannaCry's calling card. The ransomware spread primarily through phishing emails. Those sneaky messages that trick you into clicking a malicious link or downloading an infected file. Once one computer was infected, the worm component took over, spreading to other vulnerable machines on the same network. The speed was staggering. Within hours, WannaCry had infected tens of thousands of systems across 150 countries. In the UK, the NHS was hit hard. Doctors couldn't access patient records. Surgeries were canceled, and ambulances were diverted. Imagine being in a hospital waiting for critical care, and the computers are down. It was chaos. In Germany, train schedules at Deutsche Bahn were disrupted. In Russia, banks and government offices were locked out. Even small businesses and individual users weren't spared. The ransom demands were relatively small. $300 isn't much compared to the value of a hospital's data, but the sheer scale of the attack made it a global crisis. Why Bitcoin? It's anonymous, untraceable, and perfect for cybercriminals. But here's the kicker. Even if victims paid, there was no guarantee they'd get their files back. Some did, some didn't. The hackers didn't exactly have a customer service hotline. At the end of the first day, the world was in panic mode, and cybersecurity experts were racing to stop the bleeding. But one unlikely hero emerged to slow the chaos. Let's meet him. Enter Marcus Hutchins, a 22-year-old cybersecurity researcher from the UK who became an accidental hero. Marcus was working from his bedroom. Yep, he's just a regular guy with a knack for hacking when he noticed something strange about WannaCry. He was working at Crypto's Logic under the handle Malware Tech. Hutchins obtained a sample of WannaCry and began dissecting it. He noticed the code checked a hard-coded domain. If the domain existed, the ransomware would go dormant. A built-in kill switch likely paused infections in sandbox environments. So Hutchins registered that domain for $10.69 at 15:03 UTC. Routing traffic into a sinkhole via his servers, the effect was immediate. WannaCry shut down its propagation logic, halting the worm in real time. Variants soon appeared with alternate switch domains. Researchers, Matt Sush, and checkpoint analysts registered these to prevent reactivation. The kill switch allowed governments and businesses precious hours to patch vulnerable systems, even unsupported ones like XP, as Microsoft released emergency out-of-band patches for these platforms. Chapter 4. The Investigation and Attribution. By early June 2017, US and UK authorities had linked WannaCry to the Lazarus Group. a cyber espionage team tied to North Korea's Reconnaissance General Bureau (RGB) and designated by U.S. sanctions. Official attribution came in December 2017, when U.S. and U.K. governments formally announced North Korea's involvement. On September 6, 2018, the DOJ unsealed criminal charges against Park Jin-hak, a North Korean hacker working for Lazarus Group. The charges covered a wide range of cybercrimes, including the creation and deployment of WannaCry, the Bangladesh bank heist, and the Sony Pictures hack. A February 2021 indictment expanded the case with 2 more suspected North Korean military hackers, detailing further global cyber and financial attacks. The UK's National Cybersecurity Centre publicly supported US charges, affirming international confidence in the attribution. Despite these indictments, none of the accused were extradited or appeared in court. Park Jin-hak and co-accused reportedly remained in North Korea and beyond reach. Chapter 5. Outcome and Financial Impact. Direct ransom payments totaled under $130,000. 327 confirmed Bitcoin transactions amounting to 51.6 BTC. As of mid-June 2017, approximately equals $130,634 United States dollars. Ironically, due to poor transaction management, only about $6 million United States dollars worth was actually realized over time. However, damages including lost productivity, system restoration, reputational damage were estimated at $4 billion or more by cyber insurance models like Science. Marcus Hutchins' personal story turned complicated. At DEF CON in August 2017, the FBI arrested him not for stopping WannaCry, but for older malware he wrote, including the Kronos banking Trojan. He eventually pleaded guilty to 2 charges. He was sentenced to time served and allowed to return to the UK in 2019, having already earned massive support from the security community. Microsoft's post-mortem was harsh. The NSA's stockpiling of vulnerabilities like Eternal Blue and failure to responsibly disclose them enabled the disaster. Chapter 6. Technical and Forensic Deep Dive. How Eternal Blue worked. Exploited SMB v1 buffer overflow in Windows SMB file sharing loud remote code execution. Used in conjunction with double pulsar backdoor to install WannaCry payloads, encryption process, and ransom payload. WannaCry payload developed in Microsoft Visual C++ 6.0. Encrypted files, deleted shadow copies, altered security descriptors. Created RSA-AES hybrid encryption. Hard-coded Bitcoin addresses. Ransom display in English, Chinese, Russian, French, Italian, German, Portuguese, Spanish, and Japanese. Forensic techniques used. Reverse engineering by CryptosLogic and other labs to identify kill switch URL. DNS sinkholing to log infected system IPs. Geomapping of infections. Memory forensic tools. WannaKey, enabled partial file recovery on unrebooted machines by extracting crypto keys before memory cleared. Kill switch DDoS, counterattacks. Hackers tried to DDoS the sinkhole domain using Mirai botnets to knock it offline and reactivate dormant infections. Security teams deployed mitigation services to keep the domain alive. Chapter 7. Victim Stories and Human Impact. NHS trusts, surgeries delayed, ambulances diverted, urgent treatments postponed. Analysts from Parliament concluded as late as 2018 NHS cybersecurity still failed audit checks in all trusts examined. Businesses shut down. Renault and Nissan halted production. Deutsche Bahn delayed rail services, disconnected systems to isolate infections. FedEx operations temporarily disrupted. Individual victims, small businesses, clinics around the world trapped. Some had no backups. Many lacked IT staff to manage emergency patching. Users reported irreversible data loss even after paying ransom due to botched recovery. Chapter 8. The Aftermath, Lessons and Losses. WannaCry's rampage was short-lived thanks to Marcus Hutchins, but the damage was immense. Estimates peg the global losses at $4 billion, from disrupted businesses to lost data. Surprisingly, the hackers didn't make much. Only about $140,000 in Bitcoin was paid, and much of it was never cashed out. Why? Because Bitcoin transactions are traceable on the blockchain, and the hackers likely feared being tracked. Microsoft, caught in the crosshairs, scrambled to release patches for the Eternal Blue vulnerability. Fun fact, they had actually released a fix 2 months earlier, in March 2017, but many organizations hadn't updated their systems. This was a wake-up call for the world. Patch your software, people. Governments and companies beefed up their cybersecurity, investing billions to prevent the next WannaCry. The attack also sparked a heated debate about government agencies like the NSA stockpiling exploits. If Eternal Blue hadn't been stolen, would WannaCry have happened? It's a question that still haunts policymakers. Chapter 9. Why IT Still Matters. The Legacy of WannaCry. So, why should you care about a cyber-attic from 2017? Because WannaCry changed the game. It showed how a single vulnerability could bring the world to its knees. It exposed the dangers of outdated software, the risks of state-sponsored hacking, and the chaos of a hyper-connected world. Today, ransomware attacks are more sophisticated, with groups like Lockbet and Conti picking up where WannaCry left off. Cybersecurity isn't just for tech nerds, it's for everyone. Whether you're a student, a business owner, or just someone who uses a computer, WannaCry is a reminder to stay vigilant. WannaCry changed cybercrime forever. In one weekend, a tool seeded by leaked NSA code, unleashed by amateurs, weaponized by state-trained hackers, held public infrastructure hostage. Then a single domain registered by a teenage researcher slashed propagation. Indictments followed, but no arrests. Ransoms trickled in. Damage cost billions. Lessons echoed for intelligence agencies, corporations, hospitals, and citizens. But in the end, WannaCry became a turning point. It accelerated global cybersecurity reforms, forced legacy systems to be patched or retired, and taught one stark lesson: cyber attacks can be as devastating as bombs. What can you do? Keep your software updated, avoid sketchy emails, and back up your files. If you found this deep dive into WannaCry ransomware, Eternal Blue exploit, and the Lazarus Group illuminating, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Share your ideas. Should we cover Lazarus's Bangladesh bank heist next? Have you ever been affected by ransomware or worked in IT during a breach? Let us know in the comments. Don't miss our playlist on famous cybercrime attacks, from TJX to Equifax to Colonial Pipeline and beyond. Stay tuned and stay safe.